The silent pain of parents and the journey to self-respect. There exists a profound, often unspoken anguish that many parents endure, yet find difficult to express, the heartache of realizing that their children, once small and reliant on their nurturing, guidance, and love, have grown into adults. As they matured, their transformation extended beyond physical growth. They altered how they view their parents, how they heed their words, and the role parents play in their lives. You may know this feeling intimately. For decades, you have poured yourself into your children, placing their needs above your own well-being, tranquility, and desires. You have relinquished dreams, suppressed tears, and surrendered your own space. Now, when you yearn for a simple conversation, a warm gesture, or merely to be regarded with respect, you are often met with silence, distance, or even scorn. You attempt to share your thoughts, and they interrupt. You offer wisdom, and they correct you. At times, you may even feel like an unwelcome burden. In these moments, a haunting question emerges, soft yet persistent: have I sacrificed all this for nothing? The impulse to demand acknowledgement, to recount every sacrifice, to reclaim the central role you once held, can be overwhelming. Yet, as Carl Jung profoundly observed, what you resist persists. Attempting to force others to change only deepens our own confinement. According to Jung, true transformation begins within, when we turn inward, cease seeking external validation, and start cultivating self-love, when we stop chasing approval and embrace our authentic truth. There is a truth rarely shared: you still have the power to reshape how your children perceive you. This shift, however, does not come from striving to be more helpful, more available, or kinder. It arises when you reclaim the quiet authority of someone who knows and honors themselves. Aging is not a conclusion, it is, as Jung described, the culmination of individuation, the journey toward becoming your truest self. This message is not a lament but a call to reconnect with the strength, presence, and wisdom that only a lifetime of experience can bestow. These insights are not generic platitudes but profound truths uncovered by those who recognize that the soul continues to flourish, even as the body slows. If you approach this with an open heart, you may discover that respect, love, and connection are not lost, they are merely dormant, awaiting rekindling. This is for you, the one who has remained silent for too long, who has given until depleted. Consider subscribing to explore more content like this. The two phases of life. Carl Jung divided human existence into two distinct cycles, the morning and the afternoon. In the morning, the first half of life, we pursue achievements, identity, and recognition. Propelled by ambitions and duties, we build families, careers, and devote ourselves wholly to others. During this phase, we strive to establish our place in the world, giving everything to those we love. However, Jung cautioned that the values that fuel youth do not sustain us in later years. At a certain point, what once gave purpose begins to lose its luster, not because it lacks value, but because life demands a different response. The afternoon, the second half of life, is a time of introspection, a quieter, more intimate, and authentic phase. It beckons us to shift from living for external expectations to nourishing the soul's deeper needs. Yet, many parents struggle to navigate this transition consciously. They persist in maintaining the same dynamic with their adult children as when they were young, offering advice as if they were still children, expecting obedience, gratitude, or constant companionship, as if time has stood still. But time has marched on, and we must acknowledge this, not with sorrow, but with wisdom. Jung likened resisting the demands of a new life phase to lighting a candle at noon. The light has shifted, the landscape has changed, and clinging to old methods breeds suffering. Many parents' pain arises not from their children's rejection, but from their own attachment to a role they have already fulfilled. This does not mean abandoning children or withdrawing emotionally. Rather, It requires accepting that the relationship must evolve, dependence must transition to mutual respect, authority must soften into attentive listening, and control must yield to trust. The essence of healthy aging. Healthy aging transcends the physical, it begins in the mind. It demands a profound shift in perspective, a deep acceptance that life progresses, with or without our consent. When we choose to flow with this current rather than resist it, we uncover a peace that may feel entirely new. The second half of life is not a mere extension of the first, it is a fresh path, an opportunity to explore oneself without haste, guilt, or the pressure to prove anything. It is a time to release outdated roles, structures, and expectations. You have already given so much, you have nurtured, taught, and sacrificed tirelessly. Now, it is time to nurture yourself, to look inward, and to discover who you are beyond the identity of a parent. Jung viewed old age not as decline, but as fulfillment, a season of harvest, not loss. To reap this harvest, however, you must cease sowing in depleted soil. The soul craves new values, silence, depth, and authenticity. If you embrace this call with courage, you may find that the most fulfilling chapter of your life is only just beginning. Balancing love with boundaries. For many parents, love has long been synonymous with yielding, sacrificing time, space, and personal desires. They do so out of love, but often continue even when it is no longer necessary, even when they are exhausted. Gradually, without realizing it, they diminish themselves in the name of relationships that should be rooted in balance. Jung warned of the dangers of one-sidedness. When we neglect parts of ourselves, they do not vanish, they become shadows. The shadow of constant yielding manifests as resentment, a sense of invisibility, and the quiet pain of feeling unappreciated. In their efforts to remain close to their children, many parents adopt a stance of boundless availability, always present, waiting, ready to assist or serve. Yet, this unending openness can produce the opposite effect. Rather than fostering closeness, it may create distance. This is not due to malice, but because humans tend to value what has boundaries, what claims its own space, what asserts its existence. When parents yield excessively, they risk losing their distinct presence in their children's eyes. This does not mean generosity is misguided or that we should retreat into isolation. Instead, it highlights that love must be accompanied by limits. True love does not require self-erasure, it demands authentic presence, which is only possible through self-respect. When you never set boundaries, when you silence your pain, when you accept everything for the sake of harmony, you may inadvertently convey that your feelings are unimportant, that your presence is assured, that you will remain regardless of how you are treated. Respect, however, does not stem from persistence, it arises from the encounter between two authentic, whole presences. To cultivate this, you must reclaim your space, your time, and your voice, not with hostility, but with the quiet dignity of someone who recognizes their own worth. A call to rediscover yourself. This journey is not about changing others, but about transforming yourself. By embracing the second half of life with wisdom and self-respect, you can redefine your relationships and rediscover your own vitality. The love and connection you seek are not lost, they await your courage to live authentically, to honor your boundaries, and to trust in the natural evolution of life's cycles. You have given so much, now, it is time to give to yourself, to reclaim your presence, and to step boldly into the harvest of your life. The Call of Emptiness, a journey to self-discovery. Carl Jung taught that neglecting our true selves exacts a toll. When we spend years diminishing our own needs, a moment arrives when our body or mind demands our attention. This call may manifest as sadness, anxiety, or a profound sense of emptiness. Far from being a sign of weakness, it is a signal that something within yearns to be acknowledged. You do not need to demand recognition from others, but you must rediscover who you are. By treating yourself with respect, care, and mindfulness, you radiate a presence that others notice. Gradually, relationships shift, the space once filled with demands becomes occupied by authentic presence. This is not about punishing children with silence or withdrawing to manipulate. It is about returning to yourself, infusing your life with meaning, and reclaiming your essence. When you rediscover yourself, others begin to see you anew. Self-effacement is not virtuous, endless sacrifice is not noble, and the love you seek does not arise from self-negation but from embracing your true self. Teaching your children to see you starts when you first allow yourself to be seen, by yourself. The silence of transition. As life progresses, its pace often slows. Children grow up, responsibilities diminish, and what once felt urgent fades into silence. In this quiet, many encounter an unexpected sensation, emptiness. This is not merely loneliness but something deeper, a sense that one chapter has closed without clarity on what follows. Carl Jung viewed this emptiness differently from conventional perspectives. For him, it was not a mark of failure or worthlessness but a summons from the soul, an invitation to the second great task of existence, discovering who you are when no longer defined by others' expectations. For decades, life revolves around roles: parent, professional, caregiver, provider. These roles, while vital, are transient. When they no longer define you, you face an encounter with your innermost self, a self often sidelined in the name of duty. This confrontation can be daunting, as it forces you to acknowledge how much of yourself you have overlooked. Yet, it is also liberating, offering the chance to live not out of obligation but by choice. Jung called this process individuation, the journey back to one's essence. It involves moving beyond external roles to recognize your inner truth, not as a function, but as a presence, not as an image, but as authenticity. Emptiness as opportunity. In this context, emptiness is not absence but space, a new, unclaimed territory that demands care. How you engage with this space shapes the rest of your life. Some fill it with distractions, activities, or artificial obligations, but this only delays the inevitable. Others dwell in nostalgia, attempting to relive what has passed, which breeds suffering. The true invitation of emptiness is to create, to forge new meaning, connections, and a life that prioritizes authenticity over utility. Many parents, accustomed to nurturing and guiding, feel lost when their role diminishes. They mistake the end of necessity for a loss of value. However, there is a crucial distinction between being needed and being significant. Adult children may no longer require constant advice or support, but they can still draw inspiration from parents who age with dignity, transforming silence into wisdom. The time after children leave home holds a quiet beauty, a deeper, more honest phase where life shifts from doing to being. This means being present without demands, accepting without self-erasure, and listening without expecting praise. It is a unique opportunity to live fully, free from haste, judgment, or fear of disappointment. You can reflect with gratitude on the past while looking forward with serenity. Though time may be shorter, its meaning can be profound. A mature soul seeks not noise but truth, found in the silence of emptiness, a silence that, though initially unsettling, reveals the beauty of a life reclaimed. A new beginning. If you feel a sense of loss or fracture, consider this: it may not be an ending but a transition. It is not the close of everything but the end of an old way of living and the dawn of a new presence, one that is lighter, truer, and more authentically you. Jung noted that the soul speaks softly, and in the second half of life, we can finally hear it. Emptiness calls not for surrender but for a fresh start, without rush, masks, or the need to please. It is a call to live with meaning, rooted in your truth. The trap of projection. Throughout life, we often seek from others what we feel we lack. In youth, we look to parents for protection, later, to partners for security, and later still, to children for continuity. At each stage, we project our needs onto others, believing love requires another to complete us. Jung saw this as a source of suffering. For him, true maturity arises when we stop expecting others to fill our voids and cease projecting our lacks outward. This does not mean rejecting relationships or isolating oneself, it means recognizing that no one can bear the responsibility of sustaining our sense of self. As we age, this truth becomes starkly clear. When children grow up and forge their own paths, many parents feel a void, not only from their physical absence but because their identity was tethered to their role as caregivers. Without that role, a sense of loss emerges, accompanied by feelings of uselessness, abandonment, or loneliness. Routines shift, purposes fade, and the question arises, who am I now? This is where Jung's concept of individuation becomes vital. It invites us to integrate all parts of ourselves, to reclaim what we have projected onto others, and to find wholeness within. By doing so, we free ourselves from the need for external validation and cultivate a presence that is complete in itself. Reclaiming your presence. The journey through emptiness is not about reclaiming what was lost but about discovering what has always been within you. It is about shifting from a life defined by roles to one rooted in authenticity. For parents, this means letting go of the need to be indispensable and embracing the value of simply being. Your children may no longer need your guidance, but they can still be enriched by your example, by a parent who lives with purpose, who honors their own truth, and who navigates aging with grace. This phase of life is a canvas of possibility. It is a time to explore passions long deferred, to forge connections that nourish your soul, and to live with a sincerity that reflects your deepest self. Emptiness, when embraced, becomes a space for creation, a space where you can redefine your life not by what you do for others, but by who you are. Jung's wisdom reminds us that the second half of life is not a decline but an ascent toward truth. By answering the call of emptiness, you step into a life that is not only meaningful but profoundly your own. Embracing emotional autonomy and the shadow. The pain of feeling disconnected from grown children, though deeply wounding, carries an invitation to examine honestly what we continue to expect from them. We long for frequent contact, recognition, visits, inquiries about our well-being, and inclusion in their lives. Often, we hope they will fill the newfound time in our days. Yet, Carl Jung poses a profound question: what if your peace did not hinge on these expectations? What if your fulfillment could arise from within? Even subtle emotional dependence restricts children's freedom and burdens parents' souls. This does not mean severing ties, rather, authentic bonds flourish when they shift from obligation to choice. Love that does not demand constant presence or immediate responses flows naturally. Being whole is not about cold self-sufficiency but about being complete enough to live without needing to prove, demand, or wait in expectation. It is the ability to say, I am enough, even in solitude. This is true freedom, the hallmark of emotional maturity. Companionship is a natural desire, especially with those we cherish. However, there is a critical distinction between wanting and needing. When we want, we offer freely; when we need, we impose. Demanded presence becomes a duty, stripping away its lightness and grace. Jung would urge aging parents to seek within what they have sought externally. Reconnect with forgotten passions, silenced desires, or dormant talents. Rediscover what brought joy before parenthood or explore what you can embrace now, independent of others. There is profound beauty in those who age with emotional autonomy, at peace with themselves. They do not demand but inspire, they do not impose but welcome. Because they occupy their own space without insistence, they are remembered fondly, visited willingly, and heard attentively. Jung believed the soul's greatest task is reconciling with itself, achieved only by ceasing to seek from the world what it cannot provide. Neither children, friends, nor partners can fulfill what only self-awareness sustains. If you sense others have drifted, ask, what am I still expecting? Then, gently release that expectation, not out of resignation, but out of love. By letting go of demands, you create space for genuine connection. Others do not complete us, they walk beside us. That, ultimately, is enough. The shadow within. Society teaches us to display only our finest qualities, strength, patience, and kindness. We learn to smile through exhaustion, remain composed in anger, and appear polished even when inwardly shattered. Yet, Carl Jung warned that what we conceal does not vanish, it lingers in the shadow, awaiting its moment. The shadow encompasses the aspects of ourselves we deny or suppress, fears, resentments, insecurities, anger, sadness, jealousy, shame, not because they are inherently wrong, but because we have not learned to embrace them as part of our humanity. The more we hide these emotions, the more they surface uncontrollably. This dynamic intensifies with age. After years as the family's pillar, exemplar, or caregiver, many parents struggle to admit they feel anger toward their children, disappointment, or even resentment. Denying these emotions fuels silent suffering. Jung's insight, what you resist, persists, reminds us that suppressed feelings grow stronger. Wise aging requires integration, accepting that light and shadow, strength and fragility, generosity and frustration coexist within us, and that this complexity is human. Acknowledging feelings that seem inappropriate is challenging but essential. Naming pain allows us to release it. Saying, "Yes, I am hurt," fosters self-compassion. Recognizing envy, rage, or resentment diminishes their control. Many parents carry unvoiced anguish, striving to maintain composure. Yet, there is a breaking point, and suppressed emotions can erupt destructively, through shouting, accusations, or withdrawal, not because the person is flawed, but because they ignored what needed acceptance for too long. The shadow does not require combat, it craves listening. It holds rejected parts of ourselves that, when embraced, make us whole. Someone who admits, "I felt disrespected by my child, and it hurt," is closer to healing than one who dismisses, "It's fine," while inwardly suffering. Accepting the shadow does not mean excusing harmful actions or lingering in pain, it means facing oneself honestly, recognizing our complexity, and finding freedom in authenticity rather than feigned perfection. Authenticity in relationships. This integration is vital in family dynamics. When parents courageously admit, "I make mistakes too," or "this upset me," they create space for genuine connection. Children, too, carry shadows, and when parents model dignified vulnerability, they permit their children to do the same. Jung believed healing stems from wholeness, not perfection. The soul seeks coherence, not flawless purity. Coherence means living in harmony with all parts of ourselves, including those we are still learning to embrace. By integrating the shadow, parents foster relationships rooted in truth. Admitting vulnerability does not diminish authority, it enhances it, showing strength in honesty. This authenticity invites mutual respect, allowing bonds to evolve from obligation to mutual choice. Children may not always respond as hoped, but by living authentically, parents model a way of being that resonates deeply. A path to wholeness. The journey of aging is one of turning inward, releasing external expectations, and embracing all facets of oneself. Emotional autonomy does not isolate, it liberates, enabling connections that are chosen, not demanded. By rediscovering personal passions and honoring inner truths, parents reclaim their presence, inspiring those around them. The shadow, when acknowledged, becomes a source of strength, enriching relationships with authenticity. Jung's wisdom illuminates this path. The second half of life is not about clinging to old roles but about discovering new meaning. By letting go of demands and embracing your whole self, light and shadow, you create space for love that is freely given and received. This is the essence of wise aging, a life not defined by what others offer, but by the truth of who you are, walking alongside those you love with serenity and grace. Embracing the shadow and finding meaning in simplicity. In old age, the shadow manifests in new ways, as persistent sadness, a sense of uselessness, or suppressed anger. It may appear as comparisons with others, bitter criticism, or a heavy silence. These feelings should not be ignored. They can be understood, and understanding differs from being consumed by them. It is not about becoming captive to pain but about granting it a safe space to exist. When you listen to your shadow, it no longer needs to scream. Embracing difficult emotions is one of the bravest acts in mature life and a profound path to inner peace. When we cease fearing our feelings, we become free. This freedom is the greatest gift we can offer ourselves and those around us. The soul's quiet harmony. Many believe life's meaning lies in grand achievements, visible triumphs, or moments that stand out. Carl Jung, however, taught a different truth. The soul finds rest not in great accomplishments but in inner harmony. This harmony arises from engaging with the simple, everyday, and essential. As we age, life's pace slows. Travel becomes less frequent, the body demands more rest, and external obligations fade. In this quieter phase, a question emerges: what still brings me joy? Though seemingly small, this question carries immense depth, urging us to reconnect with the present moment where meaning resides. Jung understood that the unconscious speaks constantly, not through dramatic revelations but in subtle ways, through symbols, gestures, dreams, and ordinary encounters. The soul whispers, not shouts. To hear it, we must slow down. Thus, one of the most powerful practices for emotional health and maturity is creating small rituals of pleasure and meaning. These could include savoring coffee in a tranquil spot, walking while noticing the sky, listening to music that stirs memories, tending to a plant, or writing a single page in a journal. The scale of the action matters less than the awareness behind it. These small gestures rekindle our connection to life, restoring a sense of presence and reminding us that we are not merely existing but truly feeling. No technology, child, or external event can replace this. Many parents reach old age expecting their children to fill the voids in their days with calls, visits, or attention. When these hopes go unmet, frustration and feelings of abandonment arise. Jung cautioned against projection. Placing our well-being in others' hands makes us captives to their absence. Turning inward. The solution lies in turning inward, toward what is within reach. What can you do today with the hands, time, and body you have? You may no longer run as you once did, but you can walk slowly, feeling the earth beneath you. Your eyes may not see as sharply, but you can still gaze at the evening light. The house may be quieter, but that silence can frame a peace you never had time to nurture. Many assume rediscovering joy requires sweeping changes. Jung shows us that transformation begins with what is near. The simple, when approached with intention, becomes sacred. In this sacredness, the soul finds rest. This is not about romanticizing solitude or dismissing aging's real challenges. It is about recognizing the power in the ordinary, acknowledging that life persists in the smallest details, and finding dignity in choosing how to live each day, even if it differs from the past. By focusing on the little things, we stop waiting for grand events to rescue us. We cease counting the days left and begin cherishing the ones we have. This shift is quiet but profound, requiring no youth, perfect health, or external validation, only presence. When you learn to be fully present, time transforms from an adversary into an ally. Each morning offers a fresh start, each small act a choice, each breath a chance to give thanks for being here. Jung taught that what gives life meaning also shields it from despair. Sometimes, that meaning lies in calmly preparing tea, tidying a corner of the home, sitting in the sun, or listening to oneself. The soul seeks not grand solutions but presence. Maturity grants a rare gift, time to recognize the value of what was once overlooked, time to live fully in the small things. The essence of respect. There is a vital distinction between being loved and being respected. Love may stem from gratitude, shared history, or familiarity. Respect, however, arises from the presence of someone whole, even in silence, someone who inspires naturally without demanding admiration, someone who occupies their space without competition. Carl Jung saw respect as the outcome of a life aligned with one's true self. As years pass, many parents face a delicate challenge. They deeply love their children but feel unheard, their words lacking weight, their presence diminished. It is tempting to reclaim authority by recounting past sacrifices, demanding recognition, or insisting on consideration. Yet, paradoxically, the more respect is sought through force, the more it slips away. Jung noted that what we try to impose often eludes us. True respect flows from coherence, the alignment of what we feel and how we live. This begins within, not from external validation. Living with coherence. To cultivate respect, parents must first cultivate self-respect. This means honoring their own needs, setting boundaries, and embracing their full humanity, shadow and light. When parents live authentically, they model a way of being that commands respect naturally. Children may not always respond as desired, but a parent's coherence creates a foundation for mutual understanding. By focusing on their own presence, through small rituals, intentional living, and inner harmony, parents shift from seeking external affirmation to embodying a quiet strength. This journey is not about withdrawing from relationships but about enriching them through authenticity. When parents stop projecting their needs onto their children and instead find joy in the present, they create space for genuine connection. Respect grows not from what is demanded but from what is lived. A parent who is at peace with themselves, who finds meaning in the ordinary, and who listens to their shadow becomes a beacon of wisdom, not through force but through the quiet power of their presence. A life of presence. Aging offers a profound opportunity, to live with intention, to find meaning in simplicity, and to embrace all parts of oneself. By listening to the shadow, we release its hold and find freedom. By cherishing small moments, we rediscover joy in the present. By aligning with our true selves, we inspire respect without demanding it. Jung's wisdom guides us to see maturity not as a diminishment but as a deepening, a time to live fully, not in grand gestures, but in the sacred ordinary. Each day becomes a chance to be present, to choose meaning, and to rest in the harmony of a soul that has found its way home. Rediscovering self and cultivating respect. Over time, many lose sight of their own identity, consumed by roles as parents, spouses, or employees. When these roles fade, children leave home, careers end, or partners depart, an unsettling question lingers: who am I now? Carl Jung invites us to embrace this question, not as a flaw, but as a vital starting point. True respect begins when you rediscover yourself, reclaim your choices, and resolve to live with integrity, regardless of others' gaze. This does not mean becoming rigid or aloof. It means finding your center. When that center is steady, you need not constantly assert yourself, you simply are. Those around you, your children, your peers, sense this presence, and respect emerges naturally. It is not about dominating others but about fully inhabiting yourself. A whole person commands presence, not through force, but through solidity, not through intimidation, but through clarity. You can say, no, with gentleness, set boundaries with serenity, and step away from harmful situations without sparking conflict, demonstrating that your inner peace is non-negotiable. Many parents believe constant availability proves their love. Yet, there is a distinction between loving and prioritizing others over oneself, between helping and erasing one's own needs, between being present and tolerating everything. Children do not respect those who accept all, they respect those who, with affection, stand firm. Jung spoke not of perfection but of totality, embracing your light and shadow, strength and fragility, history and limits. From this wholeness emerges a quiet authority, a strength that requires no proof, existing simply because it is. This presence reshapes relationships. When parents rediscover their integrity, interactions with their children shift. Conversations deepen, and connections become freer, as children are relieved of the burden to fill an emotional void that is not theirs. You need not shout to be heard or impose to be remembered. Peace with yourself is enough. This peace arises when you stop seeking to please or justify, when you live responsibly, affectionately, and authentically for yourself. Respect is not demanded, it is cultivated. The first step is returning to your inner home, the place of your values, boundaries, and dignity. Once there, the world around you transforms. Respect begins in the mirror, and by seeing yourself clearly, you teach others to see you anew. Awakening to yourself. Reflecting on Jung's teachings, you may recognize moments of waiting, for a gesture, a word, or recognition that never arrived. You gave endlessly, believing love alone would earn respect. Gradually, you learn that love, without presence and posture, does not guarantee consideration. Jung famously said, "Life really does begin at 40. Up until then, you are just doing research. If you are 60, 70, or beyond, the research phase is over. Now is the time to truly live, with the serenity of one who no longer needs to explain, with the peace of one who refuses to bend to please children, society, or the past. You can release the need to insist. With quiet resolve, you can say, now I choose myself. You can set boundaries, embrace silence not as surrender but as maturity, and live with greater lightness, calm, and dignity. When you do, relationships realign. The way others perceive you shifts, not because you demanded it, but because respect flows from a self rebuilt from within. Jung's wisdom resonates: who looks outside, dreams; who looks inside, awakes. Let these words guide you. Take a deep breath and declare, now I return to myself. If this resonates, consider subscribing for more reflections like this, and stay notified for new content. Be well, and until next time. The journey inward. The loss of identity through years of fulfilling roles is a common human experience. As parents, you nurtured, guided, and sacrificed, often setting aside personal desires. As employees, you adhered to expectations, perhaps sidelining passions. As spouses, you compromised, blending your identity with another's. When these roles diminish, the void left behind can feel disorienting. Yet, Jung frames this not as a crisis but as an opportunity, an invitation to rediscover the self that has been obscured by duty. This rediscovery requires courage. It means facing the discomfort of questioning your purpose and resisting the urge to fill the void with external validation. Jung's concept of individuation, the process of becoming whole, guides this journey. It involves integrating all parts of yourself, the aspirations you shelved, the fears you suppressed, the strengths you overlooked. By doing so, you move beyond the roles that defined you and uncover a presence that is uniquely yours. Cultivating presence. Presence is the cornerstone of respect. When you live authentically, aligned with your values and boundaries, you exude a quiet strength that others naturally acknowledge. This is not about grand gestures or asserting dominance. It is about small, intentional choices, declining to overextend yourself, prioritizing your well-being, and engaging in relationships from a place of wholeness rather than need. For parents, this shift is transformative. Children, sensing this grounded presence, respond not out of obligation but out of genuine connection. Living with integrity also means embracing your shadow, the parts of yourself you may have hidden, such as anger, doubt, or vulnerability. Acknowledging these does not weaken you, it completes you. A parent who admits, "I feel hurt," or "I need space," models authenticity, fostering mutual respect. This openness creates space for deeper, more honest relationships, where both parent and child can be themselves without pretense. A new chapter. Aging is not a diminishment but a deepening, a chance to live with purpose and presence. By choosing yourself, you do not reject others, you enrich your connections through authenticity. Each boundary set, each moment of self-honoring, each act of living true to your values builds a foundation for respect that radiates outward. Jung's teachings remind us that the second half of life is a time to awaken, to return to the inner home where your dignity resides. From this place, you can live lightly, love freely, and inspire naturally, transforming not only yourself but the relationships that matter most.